This video stems from a question. Yash writes, "Hey Aaron, I had a question regarding recommendation letters. I'm working to apply to MFA programs and the requirement has stumped me. I've been out of academia for a while and I haven't been published. Any recommendation on how to approach the recommendation letters requirement?" Thanks for the question, Yash. This is one that I've gotten a bit, and it's not quite as daunting as it seems once you actually sit down and break it down. I split people applying to academia, the MFA and otherwise, into three distinct categories. The first category is fresh out of undergrad. The second is the young professional. And the third is the long layoff. I like to call the long layoff return of the king. Each of these categories has its own strengths when it comes to graduate schools, specifically when asking for recommendation letters. Before we go through each of them, though, we have to ask the following question. What is the letter of recommendation for? What's it for? Why do schools ask for it? We'll speak about the letter generally since it varies by program. When things get specific, I'll focus on the MFA, which is a notoriously hard program to get into. The letter of recommendation is a tool that the schools use to determine whether or not you'd be a good fit with the community that you'll be joining and with the professional expectations of the field. It is not a tool to help figure out how good of a writer or professional you are, or to figure out the quality of work that you are going to produce. This is a really important distinction to make when you're deciding who to ask for a recommendation letter. The quality of your work is going to speak for itself in other parts of the application. The letter of recommendation is a recommendation of character. It's a recommendation of who you are as a person. Let's move into the categories. Category 1, fresh out of undergrad. Hopefully, you've completed your coursework to the best of your ability, you've gotten involved in clubs and extracurriculars within your field, and most importantly, you've established and maintained strong relationships with your favorite faculty members. These faculty will be the first people you should go to for recommendation letters, for grad school, and otherwise. In addition, if you have related work experience in the field, an internship, job, publication, whoever was in charge of those projects, a director, an editor, those people should be at the top of your list. These should be viewed as A-tier recommendation letters, faculty, people who have led projects that you've worked on. The B tier takes you to a coach if you are an athlete, a boss in an unrelated field of study, or an academic advisor who has worked with you closely even if they're not in the field that you want to go into. So if you're still an undergrad, you should already have those relationships established. If you don't, establish them now. Do that before you leave undergrad. Now is the easiest time to do that when you have faculty members at your disposal. If you know that you might apply in the future, ask for a recommendation letter now. Don't wait for 3 or 4 years when somebody might have retired or moved on or forgotten about you. If you know you even have a chance to apply sometime in the future, ask your professors right now. They'll be happy to write a letter of recommendation, save it somewhere in their computer, and then when you ask 3 years from now, they've already got the letter written. It's just much better for everybody. You're really doing yourself and them a favor by saving that time. Okay, so fresh out of undergrad, that's the easiest one. Category number 2, the young professional. Okay, so you've spent a couple years in the workforce. Now what? Hopefully you've maintained relationships with a faculty member or two. At the very least, if they remember you and they're willing, they're still your best bet for a recommendation letter. After those faculty, next up would be your current boss. Especially if you're in a related field, this can work very well. If not, see if you can spin the letter in a way that makes sense as far as the job that you currently have fitting in with your career progression. Again, at this stage, former faculty members are still your best bet. They get asked for letters all the time from former students. Be sure to be gracious when you reach out to them, and they should be happy to hear from you. Your bosses would be the next best bet, even if they're an unrelated field. Okay, that takes us into the third category, the long layoff. So you've taken a bunch of years off, you've decided to get back into things. Your professors are long retired or otherwise unreachable. Your experience is in a different field. So what's next? You have a couple of options if you're willing to get creative. The first step is to try to find your former professors, of course, but that might not always be fruitful. So on to the next step. Do you have bosses who have watched you manage a project or work collaboratively with a team? Do you have any publications which required you to work with an editor or a director? These individuals should be able to address your workflow and the sort of addition that you'd be to a collaborative community. After that, you'll want to find some way to get involved in your field. Are there publications or contests that you can apply for? Volunteer or minor positions in a research lab or in a club. What you're trying to do here is get involved with your field in some way, even if your contribution is small. If you can become a part of an established organization, the leadership of that organization could provide a great letter for you. That should help you steer back into the specific field you're looking at. For instance, if you're a writer applying for an MFA, you could find a local writer's workshop to join. They're often offered at community centers or at universities, sometimes for free. A workshop leader can follow your work over the course of a couple months or years. In that time, the workshop leader could have a lot to say about your contributions to a writing community. That is what the MFA is really looking for these recommendation letters. Your contributions and your fit with their community. Here are some additional questions that I've seen in some comments. What if my recommender doesn't respond? Depending on the time frame, follow up. Writing a recommendation letter isn't a direct part of somebody's job description. However, if somebody is willing and able to mentor you, they will usually do that. Make sure you follow up with them. It's easy to forget about something like a recommendation letter. So after a week or two, give them a little bit of a nudge and they'll be happy to get onto it. It's absolutely fine to send a double email. Just give some time. What if a faculty member is retired? If they're retired, as long as they were your faculty member and they're known in the field, you can still ask them to write you a letter of recommendation. That's totally fine. Don't worry about asking those people. What if you've never actually worked with a faculty member? You just want to ask them for a recommendation. I wouldn't do that. Once again, it's sort of like remembering why they asked for the recommendation letter. These programs want to see who you've worked with and how you are to work with. So if somebody's read your work and they really like it, but they don't really know you, they're not the best person to ask for one of these letters. Finally, I know somebody famous. Should I use them for a recommendation? If you know them really well, they're well acquainted with your work, and they're acquainted with how you operate within that community, then yes, that's a great person. But again, if this person does not know you personally, if they don't know you extremely well, now would not be the time to use that letter of recommendation. That letter could help you in a lot of other cases, but not this particular one. All right, so that takes us to just about the end of the video. The application process takes a while, and it can be quite nerve-wracking, especially if you're applying in a highly competitive field like an MFA for creative writing or some other creative field. Just keep your objective in mind and present the best version of yourself that you can. Remember that it's a long process, and starting as early as possible gives you the best chance of organizing your forces to achieve success. Do you have any additional questions about the letters of recommendation or anything else in the application process? I'm happy to help. Feel free to drop a comment, let us know. This video was made due to a comment, and we're happy to crowdsource. As long as you're interested in topics, I'm happy to cover them. Thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe and like the video if you liked it. Check out some of our other videos if you're somebody who's applying to graduate school or thinking about applying to graduate school, or just getting involved in academia, writing, research space in general. It is a good channel for you to follow. I distill a lot of resources and I put them into that channel, and I really do hope that they're helpful for a lot of people. Drink enough water, get enough sleep, and we'll see you next time.